The Thorn Birds was never just a love story. It was a story of longing, faith, sacrifice, and unhealable pain. The love between Maggie and Father Ralph moved millions of viewers for decades. But behind this classic film are the turbulent lives of its cast. Some became legends, some quietly faded from the spotlight, and some carried tragedies even sadder than what was depicted on screen. Today, let's look back at the Thorn Birds then and now, and the untold stories behind this film. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to join us in the next videos. Richard Chamberlain, born on March 31, 1934, was 49 years old when the Thorn Birds premiered in 1983. He brought a rare emotional depth to the character of Ralph de Bricassart, making this priest the poignant soul of the film. Ralph was not just a man in love, but also a man torn between faith, ambition, and an unspoken affection for Maggie. It was this love that made all of Ralph's vows so heavy and painful. The silent struggle between responsibility and desire created a special appeal for the film. And Richard Chamberlain portrayed it with a subtle, calm performance, always imbued with deep emotion behind his eyes. Every choice Ralph made left an unforgettable feeling of regret for the audience. Before the Thorn Birds, Richard Chamberlain was already a renowned television star through Dr. Kildare and Shogun, becoming synonymous with the golden age of miniseries. He passed away on March 29, 2025, at the age of 90, following complications from a stroke, bringing to a close one of the most memorable screen icons. But the character of Ralph lives on in viewers' memories, because Richard Chamberlain made that love story both sacred and tragic. Making it unforgettable, few television roles leave such a profound and lingering feeling. Christopher Plummer, born on December 13, 1929, was 53 years old when the Thorn Birds aired in 1983. He brought a unique charisma to the role of Archbishop Vittorio Contini Verci's sharp, calm, and exuding an authoritative air of experience. This character was not only a spiritual guide, but also someone who deeply understood Ralph's ambitions and inner conflicts. What made the role memorable was how Christopher Plummer portrayed the subtlety behind power. He saw through Ralph, even understanding how the church could mold a person by rewarding their sacrifice and endurance. Plummer's presence imbued the film with the atmosphere of a classical world, where behind the prayers and sacred vestments lay a system of influence and the weight of tradition. Before the Thorn Birds, Christopher Plummer was already a major name in film, theater, and television. Considered one of the best actors of his generation, he went on to make his mark with notable works such as Beginners and Knives Out, completing an admirable career spanning decades. He passed away on February 5, 2021, at the age of 91. But the image of Archbishop Contini Verci's remains etched in the hearts of viewers. Christopher Plummer transformed power into something both elegant and profound, yet cold enough to leave behind subtle wounds. Meanwhile, Luke O'Neill entered the Thorn Birds with the outward appearance of an ideal man, but inwardly a soul burdened with emptiness and loss. Brian Brown, born on June 23, 1947, was 36 years old when the Thorn Birds was released in 1983. He brought a strong and rugged charm to Luke O'Neill. But behind that trustworthy exterior was a man who always kept his distance from his own emotions. Luke had the looks, the confidence, and the ability to make others feel safe. However, what made this character so agonizing was that he never truly gave Maggie what she desired most: intimacy and sharing. Luke craved freedom, ambition, and his own path more than a family home, causing their marriage to gradually cool even before major events occurred. Brian Brown portrayed Luke with natural restraint, not turning the character into a completely emotionless or tyrannical man. This made Luke more authentic, because sometimes silent distance can hurt more than harsh words. After the Thorn Birds, Brian Brown continued to build a solid career in Australian cinema, with notable works such as Breaker Morant, Cocktail, and many other television and film projects. By 2026, at the age of 79, He is still considered one of the most respected figures in Australian cinema. Luke O'Neill is still remembered by audiences because Brian Brown made the coldness of emotion feel very real and authentic. And sometimes it is precisely those unbridgeable gaps that make him most unforgettable. Meanwhile, Bob Cleary emerges as a quiet man of the Cleary family living by responsibility, kinship, and a deep connection to his land without ever needing attention or praise. Brett Cullen, born on August 26, 1956, was only 27 years old when The Thorn Birds was released in 1983. He brought a calm and reliable quality to Bob Cleary, making the Cleary family seem more relatable and authentic amidst the film's emotional turmoil. Bob isn't the center of the agonizing love affairs or grand tragedies. However, this character is important because he represents life quietly continuing amidst all the loss and suffering. Bob works, shoulders responsibility, and remains devoted to Drogheda in a simple way, making the Cleary family's world seem larger than just Maggie and Ralph's story. Brett Cullen chose a natural and restrained acting style rather than flamboyant emotion. And it is this quietness that gives the character depth. Bob doesn't need to be flashy to be remembered. His enduring and sincere presence is enough to leave a lasting impression on the audience. After The Thorn Birds, Brett Cullen continued to build a successful career in both television and film, appearing in many popular projects such as The Dark Knight Rises, Joker, and Person of Interest. Even in 2026, at age 69, he remains a familiar face that audiences easily recognize on screen. Bob Cleary is still beloved because Brett Cullen made his quiet reliability meaningful. In many families, it is these quiet individuals who keep everything together. Meanwhile, Judy brings a gentler energy to The Thorn Birds, a much-needed warmth in a world filled with so much longing, silence, and sacrifice. Barry Corbin, born on October 16, 1940, was 43 years old when The Thorn Birds was released in 1983. He brought to Pete a maturity and authenticity perfectly suited to the harsh world of Drogheda. Although not the central character, Pete contributed to making the portrayal of the Cleary family more vivid and believable. Pete belonged to that land, to the daily routines and the quiet working lives behind the emotional tragedies. Barry Corbin was particularly well-suited to this type of character, a man of few words, experienced, and only speaking when absolutely necessary. It was this calmness that made Pete so relatable and memorable. After The Thorn Birds, Barry Corbin continued his impressive career with works such as Northern Exposure, No Country for Old Men, One Tree Hill, and Yellowstone. By 2026, at the age of 85, he was still beloved by audiences for his unique blend of dignified authority and warmth on screen. Pete was also remembered for Barry Corbin, who made the world behind the main story feel more real. It was these unsung heroes who helped The Thorn Birds maintain its emotional depth. Meanwhile, Mary Carson was the powerful woman behind all the turmoil, wealthy, proud, and burdened with loneliness and a desire to control the fate of those around her. Barbara Stanwyck, born on July 16, 1907, was 76 years old when The Thorn Birds premiered in 1983. She brought to Mary Carson the powerful and sharp demeanor that only a true Hollywood legend could embody. Mary was a wealthy, proud woman who understood the power of money to control others' lives. What makes this character memorable is that Barbara Stanwyck never simply portrayed Mary as a bitter woman. Behind her coldness and control lay a silent loneliness and hurt, giving every glance and word a special weight. Mary's feelings for Ralph and her growing disappointment turning into resentment created one of the most haunting emotional layers of the story. Before The Thorn Birds, Barbara Stanwyck was already a major Hollywood icon through works such as Double Indemnity, Stella Dallas, and The Big Valley. Therefore, her appearance in the film carried the mark of a golden age of cinema. She passed away on January 20, 1990, at the age of 82. but Mary Carson remains one of the most unforgettable characters in the Thorn Birds. Barbara Stanwyck made Power both captivating and tragic, and it was this tragedy that always gave strength to her roles. Meanwhile, Fiona Cleary appeared as a woman carrying pains too deep to easily express in words. Gene Simmons, born on January 31, 1929, was 54 years old when The Thorn Birds was released in 1983. She brought to life Fiona Cleary. Or Fee, a calm demeanor concealing a profound pain. Fee wasn't the type to express strong emotions. But it was precisely this silence and introversion that made her hauntingly memorable to audiences. Fee was a woman who had endured immense loss and disappointment throughout her life. Her loveless marriage, deeply buried regrets, and distance from Maggie all seemed to stem from wounds she was too weary to dwell on. Gene Simmons conveyed all of this through her eyes, her restrained manner, and her profound stage presence. Rather than explosive emotions, before The Thorn Birds, Gene Simmons was already a major Hollywood star through works such as Guys and Dolls, Spartacus, and Elmer Gantry. She passed away on January 22, 2010, at the age of 80 after battling lung cancer, bringing to a close a memorable film career spanning decades. Fiona Cleary lives on in viewers' memories because Gene Simmons made her silent suffering so real and heartbreaking. It is this quiet suffering that ensures the character will never be forgotten. Meanwhile, Anne Mueller offered a rare sense of peace in The Thorn Birds, a kind woman with genuine concern, unmasked by ulterior motives or hurt. Piper Laurie, born on January 22, 1932, was 51 years old when The Thorn Birds aired in 1983. She brought to Anne Mueller the much-needed tenderness and compassion amidst a story filled with loss and emotional turmoil. Anne was one of the few characters who gave Maggie a sense of peace and understanding. The character represented kindness, warmth, and the belief that life still holds goodness even after so much suffering. Piper Laurie portrayed the role with naturalness and restraint, making Anne seem relatable and authentic. Before The Thorn Birds, she was known for films like The Hustler and Carrie, showcasing her ability to blend fragility with inner strength. Piper Laurie passed away on October 14, 2023, at the age of 91, leaving behind a memorable acting career. Anne Mueller remains beloved by audiences thanks to Piper Laurie, which brought her compassion to life with depth and emotion. Meanwhile, Luddy Mueller emerges as a quiet but reliable man, a rare pillar of support amidst the turmoil of the Cleary family. Earl Holliman, born on September 11, 1928, was 55 years old when The Thorn Birds premiered in 1983. He brought to Luddy Mueller a calm, sincere, and trustworthy demeanor from his very first appearances. Luddy wasn't the type of character to create major tragedies or conflicts. He was there to show the audience what true, simple love and devotion looked like, built on presence, responsibility, and consistent daily care. In a story filled with unfulfilled romances and emotional wounds, this stability became all the more precious. Earl Holliman portrayed the character with a natural, warm, and unpretentious quality. Before The Thorn Birds, he had a remarkable career in film and television, including Forbidden Planet, Giant, and Police Woman, always leaving his mark with depth in even the most ordinary roles. He passed away on November 25, 2024, at the age of 96, leaving behind the image of an actor who always brought a sense of closeness to the screen. Luddy Mueller will be remembered for Earl Holliman, who made kindness and loyalty so emotionally powerful. And in the world of The Thorn Birds, sometimes it is precisely these simple feelings that are most unforgettable. Meanwhile, Dane O'Neill emerges as one of the story's most tender and heartbreaking characters, a young man whose sincerity, faith, and innocence seem all too fragile in the face of life's many vicissitudes. Philip Anglim, born February 11, 1952, was 31 years old when The Thorn Birds was released in 1983. He brought to Dane O'Neill a gentleness and purity that made the character stand out amidst the film's conflicted world. Dane is a reflection of Ralph, but without the compromises and torments of the previous generation. He is intelligent, compassionate, and comes to his faith with absolute sincerity. This is what makes Dane's fate even more heartbreaking when tragedy strikes. Philip Anglim portrays the character with naturalness and very human emotions, not making Dane an overly perfect or distant figure. He keeps the character approachable, warm, and full of emotion, making Dane's loss leave a lasting impression on the audience. Beyond the Thorn Birds, Philip Anglim is also known for his stage and television work, particularly after the success of The Elephant Man. At 74 years old in 2026, he will still be remembered for the depth of his acting. Dane O'Neill lives on in the hearts of viewers because Philip Anglim made kindness and innocence incredibly moving. And sometimes it is the people who shine the brightest who leave behind the deepest regrets. Meanwhile, Frank Cleary represents the first outburst of the family, the son carrying anger, hurt, and a yearning to break free from the bonds that had silently torn the family apart long before Maggie's tragedy. John Friedrich, born on March 15, 1958, was 25 years old when The Thorn Birds was released in 1983. He brought to Frank Cleary an intense and unstable energy that made every scene featuring the character more tense. Frank is hot-tempered, proud, and deeply wounded. He refuses to accept the life that has been set for him. And this makes Frank one of the first signs that the Cleary family is riddled with unhealable cracks. Love, loyalty, and family bonds are never truly simple. John Friedrich portrayed the character with rawness and authenticity, not trying to downplay the pain that shaped Frank. After notable roles in The Wanderers and Thank God It's Friday, he gradually faded from the screen, leaving many viewers who loved the intensity he brought in his youth with a sense of regret. By 2026, he will be 68 years old. Frank Cleary is still remembered by John Friedrich for making the rebellion seem more emotionally charged than impulsive or flashy. And that's what makes the character so much more authentic. Meanwhile, Jack Cleary is the more composed brother, the one who quietly maintains balance amidst the family's conflicts and breakdowns. Stephen W. Burns, born November 15, 1954, was 28 years old when The Thorn Birds premiered in 1983. He brought a natural sincerity and warmth to Jack Cleary, making the character a very real part of the Cleary family's world. Jack wasn't the one caught in the biggest emotional upheavals, but that's precisely what made him valuable. He represents the type of man who quietly works, is loyal to his family, and endures hardship without seeking attention or praise. Stephen W. Burns gave the character a very natural closeness, helping Jack stand out even as one of the quietest brothers. After The Thorn Birds, he went on to participate in many television and film projects, including a memorable role in Gremlins. However, his life ended prematurely when he passed away on December 22, 1990, at the age of 36 due to complications related to AIDS. Jack Cleary is still remembered by audiences because Stephen W. Burns brought to the role a quiet yet deeply emotional heart. And sometimes it is the quietest people who leave behind the most regrets. Meanwhile, Maggie Cleary was the emotional soul of The Thorn Birds, a woman who carried love, strength, and profound sacrifice throughout the entire story. Rachel Ward, born on September 12, 1957, was only 25 years old when The Thorn Birds premiered in 1983. She brought a powerful beauty and profound emotion to Maggie Cleary, making the character both romantic and heartbreaking. Maggie begins as a young girl caught in an unattainable love affair. But over the years, she matures into a woman who, through loss and sacrifice, never loses her inner fire. This strength is what makes audiences empathize with Maggie. Rachel Ward's performance perfectly complemented Richard Chamberlain's, creating one of the most memorable love stories on television. After The Thorn Birds, she continued her work as a director and screenwriter, forging her own impressive creative path. By 2026, Rachel Ward will be 68 years old and still respected as a talented actress and filmmaker. Maggie Cleary lives on in the hearts of viewers because Rachel Ward portrayed longing with strength, not just tears. And even as time has passed, The Thorn Birds remains one of the most unforgettable sad love stories in television history. If that memory still moves you, continue your journey with Rewind 1960s to discover more stories behind these screen legends. Thank you for taking the time to join us on Rewind 1960s and for looking back at the emotional stories behind The Thorn Birds. If this video brought back special memories for you, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next journeys through classic films and screen legends. See you in the next video.